Good day. Welcome to today's live event with Chef Jacquy Pfeiffer and Alissa Wallers. This is our six-part series talking about tool hacks, or actually things that you can use around your home when you're working with the pastry. So this is going to go over our introduction to pastry arts, our bread baking arts, and our cake baking and decorating courses. And each of those courses provides a comprehensive list of tools that you should be able to have in your kitchen to use to make these products. But Chef Jacquy and Alissa are going to give you some hacks, some things that you can do with common household products and such. So some will surprise you. So if you haven't been to a live event before, you'll see on the top right, there's a place to enter questions. If you enter the questions, we will get to them in about a half an hour. We're going to go through a few videos, show you some demonstrations, and then take Q&A across the board. And ask anything you like, and we'll be able to do the best we can to answer them. I'd like to introduce Chef Jacquy and Chef Alissa. They are in Chicago today in their kitchen. And tell us a little about yourselves. We've been working together for the last year and a half plus in developing the courses, and we've had over 1,000+ students come in and take these courses. And I see a lot of you here on the call today actually are in one of our courses, so welcome. And once again, ask any question you like. So Chef Jacquy, tell us a little bit about your career.
Thank you for having me again. And thank you, Chef Alissa, for joining us today this is like the 5th or 6th event we did together. And I founded the French Pastry School 26 years ago. And we have been teaching courses, a bread course, pastry course, and cake decorating course here in our brick and mortar school. And almost 2 years ago now, we met with the wonderful folks of Rouxbe, and we adapted this instruction into an online course. And now we have those 3 courses, pastry, bread, and cake decorating, available online. And on a daily basis, I'm amazed by the work the students are able to do from an online instruction. I'm still baffled every day. I never thought it would be so good, but they impress me every single day. So I'm very, very pleased with that. And we always continue to try to improve our offerings. And then it's one of those things where we're just going to show people that you don't always have to have a fancy piece of equipment, but you can go out there and buy something that will do the job and will not cost you an arm and a leg. Okay.
Excellent. So let's go right into our first hacks. We're going to show you a short video. It's about 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it's going to talk about a few things that we'll go into, talking about cake board covering, embossing, buttercream, and a simple rose. So Patrick, let's go ahead and roll that video, and then Chef Jacquy, you can go into the details. Excellent. So a little context. That was kind of a collage of different techniques that Chef Alissa and Jacquy are going to talk about. But that's just a sampling of some of the videos in the courses. They're all focused on close-up, the work in the hands, and a voiceover telling you kind of what's going on, as opposed to a chef telling you about a recipe and how they do it. So Chef Jacquy and Alissa, let's go through that video. There's a few things going on there. So let's kind of start at the top with the cake board covering.
Yeah, and as a general rule, Chef Alissa and I will encourage the students to go to a hardware store, a hobby store, craft store, and even a dollar store. Many times you'll find something that is ultra cheap, and that will do the trick. So here I have, I went to a hardware store and I have rolling pins. Those are just PVC pipes that they actually come pre-cut in my hardware store, so which is wonderful, and they're washable. I don't recommend washing them in a dishwasher because it gets so hot in there that the plastic might actually warp a little bit. So just wash them a little bit by hand. What else do we have, Chef Alissa?
Oh, I want to bring these back. So this is would be a substitute for rolling fondant. I like it because it's a little bit lighter than your normal fondant rolling pin, which can have a little bit of weight to it, and sometimes that causes the fondant to stick. I also like it because, especially if you're doing a larger piece of rolled fondant, you can get a larger PVC pipe cut. And then I like the actual holes in the side because I'll use it to, once my fondant is rolled on, I will use it to lift my fondant onto a cake. So I actually prefer the PVC pipe.
Well, prefer. That's a big. And also, if you sometimes you have companies that all they do is cut acrylic pieces. We're talking about squares or rectangles and tubes, acrylic tubes. And so those are now completely clear, and they always have remnants that they don't know what to do with them, and they sell them for very, very cheap. So you can find those same pipes or rolling pin if you want in clear acrylic. Okay, they call it plexiglass, but plexiglass is a brand name, I believe. So what else do we have? Embossing pins. So anything that you can find out there to emboss to make an impression on roll fondant. Those things, those are shelf liners. You could even use towels. You know what you can use if you go to a dollar store? You can use they have those very cheap tablecloth that they have a design on it, and you can just roll those on the fondant and it will make a really nice design. What else do you have?
So pretty much when I'm embossing, anything that has texture can be put onto fondant when it's freshly rolled and embossed. I do it a lot for small plaques. If I'm making little cupcake toppers and I'm going to build something on that, I just like to give it a little bit of texture. So I'll go ahead and I'll even just press down a kitchen towel, or like you said, a nonstick mat, just to get. We even have some bubble wrap, just to get a little bit of texture on it. You could play around if you're making grass for a sculpted cake or bushes. Just play around with kind of anything that in your house that has texture, and you can use that to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, the sky is the limit. You can take plastic wrap and wrinkle it and roll over your fondant. The sky is the limit, and you can ask any cake decorators. They make many decorations like this just with what they have at home, or if it's something they can buy, and it's not expensive. Another good place is a Goodwill place. Many times they have things that are extremely cheap, and that you can use for embossing. Then we have on our list cake drum substitute.
So this has happened to me when I take a lot of cake orders, and sometimes it's like a 12-inch cake, and I need at least a 14-inch drum. But I don't always have that, and I don't want to buy like 50. I don't even maybe want to buy 5, but I do have 14-inch cake board. So what I'll do is I will just take 2 or 3 of the cake boards, and then I just hot glue them together, and that makes a nice sturdy drum. I'm always covering it in fondant and then putting a ribbon around it, so nobody even knows that it's actually 4 cake boards and not a drum. So this is great in a pinch if your delivery didn't come, or if you just need one very special sized cake drum, you can kind of make your own.
Yeah. So on our list, we made a nice little list here for buttercream frosting. You might have a fancy scraper, but also you can go to a hardware store and they have those ones. This is like there will always be or in a paint store or in a tile, not a paint section, sorry, or the tile section. So what's important is to have a stainless steel blade. The blade has to be nice and shiny. Okay, and then I obviously always prefer plastic handle, but even if it's wood, it's fine. But this has to be stainless steel. Then we have this guy.
That's great for tall ones.
Yeah, this is for tall cake. And then this mama here is great for like full sheet cake. The top of a full sheet cake, you can just put the buttercream, and in 1 or 2 swipes, you have a perfect surface. You won't see a line from the spatula and this. So always look for those type of scrapers. We use those also for chocolate work. That works really well. What else we have? Palette knives. This you can go to a craft store.
Art supply
yes.
store. Yeah.
And then those, we just got a couple.
They come in all different sizes. They're used a lot for adding petal textures to cakes in buttercream. They actually usually have a thinner blade than an offset spatula, which makes them nice. So these you can get them on Amazon, but you can also get them at an art supply store as well.
And then we have some Lazy Susan substitute. So
when I first started out over 15 years ago, I didn't have a turntable. They weren't even easily available back then. So I used a Lazy Susan. So this is great though if you're traveling or if you're staying at an Airbnb. I know a lot of cake decorators go to a wedding and they're asked to make the cake in like California, but they don't live there, so they're making it in an Airbnb. So Lazy Susan is great to use as a turntable. It's also great, even a smaller one, for cookie decorating. If you have to just kind of move your cookie around, it's a lot easier and has a smoother motion to do that.
Yeah. Ultra light. So like Chef Alissa said, if you're traveling, it's not going to create a lot of extra weight because the weight of an actual turntable is a lot. And so now we are going into the gum paste pedal drying. And Chef Scott, I see that you made a beautiful orchid for gum paste orchid for this live event. It looks really beautiful. So Chef Alissa shows that we are using, how do you call those things?
It's a page protector.
Page protectors from an office supply. That's another great place to go to, office supply stores. They have sales all the time. And go ahead.
So when we're rolling, doing fondant or gum paste work, you want to keep it covered so that it doesn't dry out before you're ready to use it. So, we say to get a plastic flap, which is nice. And, I have one at home that I use. But you can also use a nice page protector. All I did was cut off the seams. And then I have my fondant here that I've rolled out, and it just kind of keeps it covered nicely. You can also get creative. There's a lot of different, especially with gum paste flowers. I know my cake decorators out there know there's so much equipment, so many special petal dryers and all this stuff. You can also get creative with drying or shaping your fondant or gum paste. So egg cartons I use a lot at home, even upside down, depending on the shape. Sometimes I just want to have a free form, like if I'm doing a leaf. So that's perfect for just kind of moving it around and shaping it that way. And then Right here we have just a silicone dough mold, but you could get these at Michael's or any sort of supply store, and pretty much anything with a dome, even the tops of like milkshake cups would work.
Yeah.
And you go ahead and you can dry your petal in there, or even flip it upside down if you were doing kind of like what we showed, like the orchid leaf, and get the shape however you need it.
So the key is really to, the challenge for you as a cake decorator is to say to yourself, what do I have at home, or what can I buy for not too much? Because guess what? Not every cake, but many times you have to make a lot of custom cakes.
Right. No cake is.
And
is the same.
so sometimes you need one look just for that cake. So you're not going to buy a piece of equipment just for that one cake, because after that, you're just going to be left with that piece of equipment. So, excuse me, you have to be creative and try to MacGyver something. And talking about MacGyver, so those are now stencils. That's the next thing we need to talk about. Is stencils. You can go to like a craft store like Michael's and all this. They have a lot of pre-cut stencils. Here,
It
this
doesn't
is one.
have to be specifically for. Yeah.
Yeah, and none of these are toxic. All the tools that we're showing you are not toxic. They're not made for food, but they're not going to poison anybody. Okay, so this is another one that is pre-cut, and then I just MacGyver this one just before the. Can you see this higher? Yeah. So I took the lid of a plastic container. I like to keep a little edge, so I have a handle, and I made a very fancy star.
Yeah.
And so you can make your own. Yeah, all you have to do is draw the design and cut it with an X-Acto knife,
Yeah.
and voila.
But
Okay.
it's great, not just for like royal icing or stenciling on a cookie, but for pastry as well, if you're doing anything with like a tuile batter, if you need like a long rectangle or just a perfect circle, you can go ahead and make your own. And it's reusable. You just wash it. We do that all the time in
Yes.
our plated dessert class.
And you can have it.
Thank
My
you.
present to you. I think we covered all the items, Chef Scott, for the cake decorating part. And now we can move on to the bread part.
Yeah, a lot of great detail. Just for a little bit of context for those of you out there, as this is part 6 of 6 different cake decorating live events we've done. We started with your equipment, and then we went into how to make a sponge. We talked about buttercreams, and then we went into fondant and gum paste. And here we're at the end where we're going to do some tool hacks for cakes, but we also kind of want to add to it with some of the bread and pastry hacks that we have with our other 2 programs. So we do have a library of all of our past events. I would recommend going into there and seeing some of the building of the cake program. But let's jump into video 2, where we're going to talk about a sourdough miche, and then we'll go into a few other videos within our bread program.
Okay. Great.
So yeah, I see the basket with the cloth. There's a couple hacks for that. My hack is I'm just using mixing bowls and lining it with a very thin piece of cheesecloth when I'm making my sourdough bread.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I do that at home. I'll even use, crazy enough, I'll do a textured towel, and you actually will get that kind of nice impression too. So if you put that in your basket or your mixing bowl, and you can,
Yeah.
get that.
So you can
fine.
use a basket. The reason why we like to use baskets is and linen cloth is so the dough can breathe right through it. If you don't have linen, you can use cotton. That works really well. And for proofing dough, we use things called couches. and those are made out of linen, but you can use a pillowcase if you want.
Yeah.
And that works really well. You can just slide the sheet pan with the items to be proof in that pillowcase, and it will protect it nicely, but the dough will still be able to breathe right through it. And then I have this box right here. This box can be used as a proofing chamber. In our courses, we tell people to take a pan of hot water and put it in the oven, that oven that is not turned on. So the heat of the water and the humidity created will create a nice environment for the bread. But some people say, my oven, I use my oven for all kinds of things. So you can just use any kind of container. Doesn't have to be plastic. Gotta be airtight. Cannot be a cardboard box.
Right.
But any kind of airtight plastic box, and you put a container with hot water, and voila.
Flip it upside down even.
Flip it upside down.
That would be easier.
But now you're gonna spill the water.
No, then you put the water here.
Put the water here, and then the bread to proof. And then since we are geeks, you just slide a thermometer here. And then I like this because it's see-through, so you can actually see the dough rising. So the sky is the limit as far as proofing dough. Okay, what else do we have?
Score the bread.
To score the bread, yeah, we recommend a baker's blade, but you can just use any kind of sharp blade, and that will do the trick. We at the end of the day, we don't want you to spend a lot of money always to buy the specific item unless you really want to. But many times you can find something at home that is sharp enough, or even if you just take a blade for shaving, that works really well. It's actually the same blade that goes in a baker's blade. What else do we have? Oh, make your own muffin.
Did you see that video?
Did we already see the blueberry muffin video, Scott? Okay, so I'm ahead of the game. Okay, so let's watch this, and then we have some other fun items to show you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Patrick. Okay, that was quick. Piping of the muffin, and you have a couple tips here that you can do at home.
Yeah, I mean, piping the muffin, this is not a new trick, is using a Ziploc bag. A sturdy one, use the ones that are used for a freezer, and cut one of the end and then fill it with the butter. So you can use this as a piping bag. And then just before we got on this event live, we were having fun making our own muffin cups. So this is the muffin cups that we use in the course. But once you separate it, you realize that it's just a square piece of paper. And then we were having fun folding it, following this. And then, sure enough, we made our own muffin cups that you can just slide in. Nice. You can slide in any kind of
Muffin pan or
any container
foil,
that is strong enough. And then so you can go crazy, because nowadays you can buy parchment paper that is decorated, has all kinds of colors, and also the natural one.
Mm-hmm.
So you can make your own muffin cup, and you don't have to buy expensive ones out there.
These cups, these aluminum cups, are great to use also, which you can purchase big sleeves of them. So if sometimes you're kind of limited to just like 12 in a muffin, but if you put this on a half sheet pan, you can fit a lot more, and then they're reusable. You can wash them out if you're using a liner.
Yes.
You just keep reusing them over and over again.
Yes. The next item that we have, actually, I saw somebody on our Facebook, private Facebook, this morning. Somebody who had a problem with it was a cream cheese butter that was getting too cold. Yeah. So you can actually use a hair dryer. I left my hair dryer at home, you know, but hair dryer is very nice to use to warm up the mixing bowl. So when cream butter separates, there's always one reason, and it's just getting too cold. Yeah. Or it was cold, you had it in the refrigerator, or your kitchen is too cold. And all you have to do is warm it up. So you can take the bowl, put it in a double boiler, or you can use the hair dryer. But also, if you want to go crazy, then you use a heat gun. Yeah, those guys are like much hotter than a hair dryer, but they are very effective. And so now you can actually maybe if you have a tool shop at home, and maybe you'll find one of those.
Have it, yeah.
Yeah, you have it, and you're ready to go, right?
It's also good for warming chocolate, like if you're tempering.
Yes.
And you just have a few crystallized pieces of chocolate, a nice hair dryer, you could just kind of gently warm your chocolate without taking it out of temper.
Yes. And then I see a Ziploc bag. We mentioned that in the course. A Ziploc bag can be used for piping, but I think we're gonna see a video, Chef Scott, on croissant making. If you can roll that, because we have some more options for Ziploc bag.
Okay, moving on with the croissants.
Okay.
So yeah, that first part of the video was the whole butter book concept. Can you elaborate on the butter book? We've heard about it before. Tell us what that is.
The butter book is a rectangle of butter that we roll out, and it's got to be perfectly shaped, so it then gets wrapped in with dough, and then it gets rolled out. So it's called a butter book. And in our courses, we use a large sheet of acetate. Okay, you can actually find this in craft store, in art supply stores. It's got to be the soft kind that you can fold and unfold. It won't crack. But we have also Ziploc bags that we can use, and we have also those page protectors that they come back again for another use, and you can use those and then tap the butter. Yeah, you can fold them like this. Very
it's really
good.
important to make sure in the butter book that you have nice sharp corners.
Yes.
So something that has flexible plastic, like the page protector or a freezer Ziploc bag, is perfect.
Yes. And then when it comes to egg washing croissants or any kind of yeasted doughs, those are all very fragile just before they get baked. So I like to use this brush. I go to, you can find them at Chinatown, or you can also find them in art stores. They call bamboo joint brushes because you can actually remove. If you just see that,
Yeah.
If you just want, you can put it back also, maybe. Yeah, there you go. And they actually come much wider. Okay. And this one, you got to be careful that the bristle doesn't escape, but otherwise it adds some nice texture, the bristle, nice little crunch. And then Chef Scott, thank you for sending us your makeup brush. That's always very useful. So we use those also for croissants, brioche, and they're very, very, very soft.
They're
and
gentle.
if they I'm like this. If I see too much bristle, I just cut off what I don't need, because sometimes you see you just need this much. So it's very, very light. But those things, again, if they're good enough for your skin, no, really, they're not going to put anything toxic in this brush, you know. I mean, I use it for my makeup before each live event, and you see there's no reaction, no problem. And then now we have another video, Chef Scott.
So yeah, this is going to be another collage. It's about a minute long, and it's going to be going over the couche and a proof box and a little bit about a biscuit, and then using the brush for the spinach pie. All right, Patrick.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful video. So tell us about a couche. I don't have one, and what could I use that I have around the house?
Yeah, we actually we talked about this a little bit before. I was ahead of myself. A couche is just a piece of linen, and you can actually buy linen out there. Obviously, if you want to use it for food, maybe organic linen, because we don't want to have any dyes that would react with the humidity of the dough. But as we mentioned before, a pillowcase, a clean one, please.
Yes.
Please, a clean pillowcase does the trick. I've used it many times. And then we talked about the proof box a minute ago. So now we have also biscuits. A lot of people ask me, where can I buy those cookie cutters? You don't always need to buy a cookie cutter. Any kind of glass that you can use to cut the biscuits will do. It can be even a tin, right? A round tin. Again, because those sets of cookie cutters, they're great. Actually, if you buy a set, you should have it for life, but they still can cost a lot. So maybe use something like this. And then for rolling dough, we always like to roll dough to a certain thickness. And we recommend some rolling bars in our course. But again, if you go to that same acrylic store, this comes from an acrylic store, remnants that you just buy, and you can use them to roll dough. This is from a hardware store, different thicknesses. This is a 1/4 inch. This is God knows what, 16 of an inch and 8 of an inch. What I like about those is this plastic. You can wash it, you can abuse it, and it always turns flat. Some of those rolling bars, they're made out of wood and they warp. And the metal ones are like, once you bend them once, it's over. So those things, I have those things for more than 20 years. And they're just, again, very light and very, very easy to use, okay? What else we have on the list? Oh, we have the knife, the electric knife, which is fantastic. Those knives are the best to cut that spinach pie. Any kind of puff pastry, when you cut it, it can flake away and completely fall apart. So this guy is just two blades that just slice very quickly, and it's also very, very nice for Napoleon. Okay, or if you want to cut bread slices that are very thin and even, this guy is your guy. It's not very expensive, but very, very useful. What else do we have on our list? We have the wood grain tool. There's some miscellaneous item, Chef Scott, that we just all we did, we went in our toolboxes, our equipment boxes, and then just you find it over the years. We just accumulated a lot of things. This is again from a hardware store. This is what they use to do fake wood design. You can use this for chocolate or even fondant. On fondant, you put some color on a sheet of fondant, and voila, you have some wood grain design.
Yeah, I just made some fences.
You just did?
And this would be perfect.
Yes.
To kind of get that wood grain effect.
And then also, when you make tart shells, if you really want to make them really perfect, the edges sometimes need a little bit of TLC, and that's tender and loving care, not tough luck Charlie. And with this microplane, or even just this guy over there, you can just
gently smooth out the edges.
Yes.
I use this a lot when doing sugar cookies. Sometimes if you just didn't mix the dough and you got that one piece that kind of just spread a little bit too much, you can just go and easily just kind of soften that edge on your cookie.
And also on the surface, sometimes if you overmix the dough, if you have bubbles, this guy will teach you the lesson, and then you get a nice and smooth surface. So whenever you're ready for your royalizing designs, they're not going to be impacted by the whatever is going on the surface.
Yeah.
Do we have everything? We're looking through our list.
Yeah, I think
and those are just,
tip of the iceberg.
This is the tip of the iceberg. The more you go and look around in, again, hardware stores, craft stores, paint stores, art stores, dollar store, you will find things and the key is to spend the smallest amount of money, and garage sales.
Once your brain kind of starts working in that way of
Yes.
like kind of being creative and different textures and with the tools that you have already, it just keeps going. And once you kind of start doing it, you kind of have a lot of fun trying to be creative. And
Yes.
I make sourdough, I make fondant cakes. I don't have half the equipment that we have at the school, but you're able to make it work with what you have.
That's the idea. Always try to make it work without buying a lot of equipment, because you don't have to. Okay, some of the tasks are very simple, and why not, right? And the more you become creative like this, the more you realize that you don't always have to rely on a fancy piece of equipment to achieve a task. One just popped in my head is to make brioche. You can use any kind of can.
Oh yeah.
The cans, any kind of can be a big can, small can, and because the liner on the inside is food grade, obviously, because it's a food can. And then all you have to do is remove the lid and then wash it, dry it, and then butter it. And then you can proof brioche or toast bread or anything like this. And it works really well. And it's actually no cost to you other than the soup that you bought.
Yeah.
So we went through the list that we prepared for this live event. And I'm sure that you have questions, Chef Scott. If you want, we can start answering those.
Yeah, let's start answering the questions. Thanks for all your personal input on your years of experience in the different baking topics. Let's go into the questions. We have a few here. The first one is from Janelle. When making gum paste flours, is there an alternative to using a stand mixer pasta attachment? So
Hand rolling.
Hand rolling.
So
hand rolling.
the reason we use the pasta attachment is because it makes every petal even. But people were making gumpe flowers before they were making KitchenAid pasta machines.
Absolutely.
So you can go ahead, you can use like the crank one if you had that, or you could just hand roll and you just got to get it as thin as possible.
And you hand roll them between a page protector so it doesn't stick, and so you can press extremely hard, and you can get very, very thin, and then it should work really well. You don't have to buy a pasta attachment.
Yeah,
okay?
and if it's not thin enough, then that's when you go ahead and you use your balling tool to go ahead and thin it out even more and stretch your gum paste.
Yeah.
Excellent. So moving on to the next question. This is from Leslie. What's your favorite kitchen tool and why? I assume both of you have something different. Your favorite kitchen tool?
Just a kitchen tool. What's your favorite?
I have two.
Yeah?
The microplane and offset spatula.
Yeah. For me, it's a paring knife. I always tell myself, if I was on an island, and you fall off a boat, and then I don't know. And what tools would I like to have with me? Would be a paring knife, and also an offset spatula, because
everything.
even though you're on an island, you got to start to bake. You gotta get things going.
You could
there,
even use
right?
it to like flip the fish.
Flip the fish.
You're gonna be fishing.
So you have a microplane?
I might change it to the.
No, you cannot change. That's the game.
The microplane
You
is.
pick it and that's it.
You can use it for spices, zesting, chocolate, cookies.
Mm. So maybe if we'll meet on the island, we'll have three tools. But for me, it's paring knife and offset spatula. And we're talking about the small one.
Yeah.
Where's that one that you brought? We're talking a small one, which has a regular blade, but you can do so many things with this, So, okay, I agree with that.
Thanks.
Okay.
Next
I
one.
agree too. I'd say, microplane is my favorite, in addition to a fish spatula. I'm using that across the board all the
You would
time.
say
Oh,
that.
that's a
And-
good one. A fish spatula.
And I
Fish spatula?
Never thought about
Yeah.
being on a deserted island. Okay.
You are on an
All
island.
right. This is, yes, it's not deserted though. So this is from Helena. Is there a hack for attaching sugar flowers to a cake? Is there a hack to attach a sugar flower to a cake?
No.
Sugar flower, I assume it's gum paste flowers?
Yeah, I guess I'm assuming it's all right. There's a few things. So, if it's on a wire, you want to make sure that we always make bundles of flowers and secure those with floral tape first. So if you're doing a few roses and some leaves, we always do small bundles like that. I put those either usually in a straw. So I'll put the straw into the cake, and then I'll put the bundle of flowers in that way. If you have sugar flowers that are not attached to wires, if you have a fondant cake, royal icing. If you have a buttercream cake, just a little bit of buttercream onto the cake, and then the flour on top, and that should do the trick.
Yeah, and if you do sugar flowers, so now we're talking pulled sugar or even chocolate flowers, I like to build mine on a toothpick, yeah? And so you can slide them in the cake. And it's not realistic to glue gum paste flowers, sugar flower, chocolate flowers just on the side of the cake, because with condensation and people moving the
If they're
cake,
heavy, I'm
it's
talking
gonna
about,
fall off.
Yeah, if it's like a small daisy or
Yeah.
a blossom, then that. But if you have then use buttercream or royal icing. But if you
Yes.
have like a heavy rose, you're gonna need to have that like on a skewer and insert that into
Yeah.
the cake. That
as a cake decorator, you have to realize that you might spend a lot of time and making sure everything looks gorgeous and right.
Mhm.
But once you drop off the cake at the banquet hall,
It's out of your hand.
it's out of your hand. But sometimes they just toss those cakes around, and you just want to
That happened
rip
to
your
me.
hair out. That's what happened to my hair.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
This weekend, I delivered a cake, a 2-tiered cake, and they were like, just put it on the food cart right there. And I'm like,
No.
I was like, I'm gonna put it on the cake stand that I talked
Yes.
to the person about instead.
Yes.
I'm
So,
not having anyone
yeah.
touch it.
It's very important to now we're talking about something different, but it's okay. when you deliver a cake to a party, you should be able to bring that cake and put it on the table,
final destination.
the final table with a beautiful tablecloth and everything, and you put it there. You take a photo, and you make sure the banquet manager sees that everything was fine. And that cake should not move from its location. If you just give them the cake and they say thank you very much, there's a lot of chances that this cake is not going to make it. So make sure that it's in its final destination, and then you can do all your beautiful gluing of flowers and whatnot, and at least you know you are in control. Okay?
Sounds like you're both speaking from experience from situations
my
of
God.
dropping the cake off in the wrong area.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
next question is from Monica. Is there an alternative for springform pans? Thanks. I mean, kind of a basic question, but if I was making a cheesecake, I'd want a springform pan. Is there an alternative to a springform pan?
I mean, I've made a cheesecake in a regular cake pan. What we did, you make sure you line the bottom with parchment, and then we actually just froze. Like the cheesecake came out, we let it cool, we ran a spatula around it, and then we put it in the freezer, and we unmolded it that way. Frozen, you can unmold it out of a cake pan.
Yeah, any kind of cake pan, even some round dishes, it should work. It should work, but a cake pan is probably your second best bet. And there's also nowadays they make cake pans out of silicone, and that works well too.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Next question. This is from Regina. Hi, chefs. I'm working on a vegan almond croissant. I'd really like the almond filling baked into it as well as on the top. I'm having issues with the frangipane leaking out. Sometimes the croissant is too brown as well. Any suggestions for success for making a vegan almond croissant?
Well, if the filling's running out, there's probably too much liquid or too much sugar. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem.
You probably need something to bind it a little bit.
Yeah, the filling is running out.
Yeah, that's what she said.
So yeah, maybe add more nut powder to it, to the almond.
Yeah, that would be great.
That will dry out a little bit, absorb some of the moisture, because if it's running out, there's just too much water in that vegan filling that you're using. So
probably in the butter.
You need to dry it out.
Yeah.
You need to dry it out, and since it's an almond croissant, I would say add more almond powder, which will make it even tastier, and that should do the trick.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Here's another, it's not a question, but this is from Luis. Love these videos. I'm learning so much. I really enjoy Chef Pfeiffer's humor, as do I. Thank you, Chef Jacquy.
No humor coming from Chef Alissa, unfortunately.
Great, thanks, guys.
Well, she's trying to keep up with you.
Yeah.
All right, this is a question again from Janelle. Hello, chefs. What is a great hack for embossing instead of buying an embossing roller? You talked about a couple things with texture. What else would you?
Yeah, we did.
think
We
about
did.
for embossing?
We have all those textures, all those things. You have some over there. So anything, it can be one of those, like I mentioned, those cheap tablecloth that you buy at a dollar store.
You know what they have at the dollar store? Those foam pads that have textures. Like
Yes.
they have those really foam, like craft pads.
Yes.
Those are really great. I have a few of those that I like, and they'll usually have like hearts or stars on them. Those are really great for embossing.
Yeah. So forget about rolling pin.
No, don't get a rolling pin.
Don't get a rolling pin.
Get any flat thing. So anything, just, and then you would take your fondant smoother and just kind of gently push it down, or
Yes.
then take your rolling pin and gently roll the textured mat or the
Absolutely.
textured foam onto your fondant.
Any kind of mat, plastic, paper, anything that will not stick. Even cloth. You can take a tablecloth that has beautiful embroidery,
Sure.
something like that, crochet, and you put it on there and you roll over it, and the design will transfer to the fondant. Okay, so this way you don't have to buy a rolling pin special for each design that you want to make. Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, chefs. So we have a question from Aruna.
Oh, hold on.
and,
Chef Alissa
oh, yeah.
has a joke.
No,
No?
it's not a joke.
No joke. Go ahead.
Sorry, I won't.
Go ahead.
They also have like stamps at I'm thinking back. They have like scrolled stamps that you can buy at the craft store. Those are also really great for embossing. If you wanted to have some like scroll patterns, you can go and get those stamps, and then you can go ahead and emboss.
It says squirrel.
Scroll
I thought a squirrel.
or squirrel stamps.
Yeah. No.
Either one.
First, you got to catch a squirrel. That's not easy. So, okay. Next
All right.
question.
Next question. This is from Aruna. We have severe chemical allergies in our household. Any alternatives to aluminum foil? Love these programs. So I think there's only one task within this program that uses foil. Is that right, Chef?
In the cake program, I think there's only one task that uses foil, which is texturing grass and little bushes on a sculpted cake. And that you can just use paper. You can use a very firm sponge to get that texture as well. As far as foil in pastry baking, I don't use that at all, actually.
Yeah.
I have it in my house,
Yeah.
but I don't use it for any sort of baking. Parchment paper would be.
No, but yeah, I'm the same. I'm anti-foil because I don't like it because
think
there's
you're supposed
always
to
a
bake
black
that.
residue.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
So definitely you don't use it. Don't line anything with foil. And then sometimes people, if something gets too brown, they say put a piece of foil. You can just put a piece of parchment paper. Yeah. But you can very easily
Or silicone. Like
you can ban the foil from your kitchen. Like you say in the program, we have a little bit of foil that is wrinkled for the sculpted cake. But this, you just take like some stiff parchment paper, wrinkle it, and then you're good to go. But you really don't need any foil in your kitchen.
All right. A couple more questions, Chef. I don't have an ice cream machine. Is there an alternative? If you were making ice cream without an ice cream machine, what might you do?
They do that in the program with the bowl of ice under the KitchenAid, but that's
That's
tough.
KitchenAid has a bowl that.
No, I think we talk about it in the pastry program on Rouxbe.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Put
It's
a bowl
coming
of
back.
ice.
Yeah.
There you go. It's been a long time since
Yes.
we wrote that. program.
So you make sure your mixing bowl is cold, your paddle, your whisk or
Everything
your
is
paddle
like ice
is
cold.
cold, and then you put. I would put everything in the fridge and even a little bit in the freezer, the base, and then you put it in your KitchenAid. Now I would cover the top so the cold air stays, and then you put a bowl of ice, very cold ice, and underneath, and
With
then
a little
you just
water, just so that it kind of
little
goes
water.
around the bowl.
And then you kind of like MacGyver it underneath so it stays there. You don't want to be holding it like all this time. And then you mix it, but don't mix it too fast. If you mix it too fast, you're creating heat. So kind of like a medium heat. And I guarantee you'll get ice cream. Ice cream, it's just a liquid that is moving with
cold.
some kind of a blade, and then cold air. It needs to be all around it. So that should work.
Have you ever seen? We got once this like plastic ball that you put the ice cream in, and you're supposed to play with it in the snow. And as you're like, you put the ice cream in.
Where was that?
Somebody gave it to us. It didn't work, by the way.
Obviously, yeah.
But the KitchenAid bowl will work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a thing that I used to use years ago. It's not a machine, but it's an insert you put in the freezer, and then you come out and you put your ice cream mixture into it, and then you can churn it by hand. I forget the brand name of that, but it's it's not an electric machine, but it's a tool. All right,
the thing is, you need that ice cream base moving all the time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the crystals
It's just going to form an ice.
they'll get
cube.
bigger and bigger and bigger.
And that's when the texture gets
Right.
grainy.
Yes. The more you move it, the finer the water crystals.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Last question here is, hi, Chef. This question is not related to today's class, but I wanted to ask, what could be a major mistake for making a proper smooth fondant. I'm using gelatin powder instead of sheets. So it's more around our fondant live event, but I'm sure you can answer some of the tips and tricks on making a good fondant using gelatin powder instead of sheets.
Just making sure that it's properly hydrated.
Yes.
So that's a trick with like sometimes with powdered gelatin is you still will get some of that grainy gelatin on top or on the sides if it doesn't hydrate properly. So you want to make sure that you're having a nice thin layer of the powdered gelatin onto your water so that it all hydrates properly. That would be
and then also many times I see in the comments, the sugar is not sifted or the powdered sugar is not fine enough. You need at least a 10x sugar, which is how fine the confectionery sugar is. I see people where the fondant is not coming together, so you need to put more water, and then you can always add a little bit of shortening, or sometimes even a little bit of corn syrup or liquid glucose that will give it that slightly softer texture. You don't want to go crazy, otherwise now you have another problem. It's too soft.
You could add the water too with like a spray bottle, so that way you're just doing a few mists, folding, kneading to see if the texture is right.
Yes.
But with powdered gelatin, it's really tricky to make sure sometimes it's all properly hydrated.
Yeah, let it hydrate well, and then make sure you melt it completely. Otherwise, those little pieces will never go away.
All right, perfect tip. Well, thanks for your time on the tool hacks. If you're interested in any of the other courses that you might not have taken or have never seen, if you click the Rouxbe link right under my picture on this live event page, you can see a little bit more about the other classes. But thank you, Chef Alissa. Thank you, Chef Jacquy, for your humor, your personal touch to what you do in your kitchens. And until next time, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bye, Scott.
Bye.